Ever imagine yourself leading an entire school, like not just teaching, but actually running the whole place?
Yeah, calling the shots, setting the vision, the whole shebang.
That's exactly where we're diving today, folks. Further education principles. We're talking about the leaders of colleges and
Yeah.
technical schools, and let me tell you, it's a lot more than just board meetings and paperwork.
You got it. This is a role that demands a unique blend of educator, manager, and visionary.
And lucky for us, we've got RoleCatcher's insights to guide us, right? Their resources are top-notch.
Absolutely, a treasure trove of information. And the first thing that jumps out is the sheer scope of the role. We're talking staff management, budget wrangling, admissions, and making sure the curriculum is up to par with national standards. It's a lot.
It's like being the CEO of education.
In a way, yeah. And there's the whole parent-teacher dynamic. Can you imagine those conversations at this level?
Oh, I bet those parent-teacher nights are a whole other ballgame. Actually, RoleCatcher uses a perfect phrase for this role. They call it the central hub. What do you think about that?
Spot on. They're the central connection point for students, teachers, staff, parents, even government officials. Talk about a people person's dream.
So you need the patience of a saint, the organizational skills of, well, I don't even know. And it's interesting, even though it's this high-level position, it's not all big picture thinking. RoleCatcher says a surprising amount of time is spent on, wait for it, monitoring.
68% to be exact.
68%. Okay,
Yeah.
for those of us who don't speak principle, what does that even mean?
It all comes down to data. You're constantly tracking progress, your own performance as a leader, that team's effectiveness, how well the institution is meeting its goals.
So it's not just setting goals, it's about making sure those goals are actually being met, right? Always adapting, always analyzing, and that's what makes education so exciting, especially in further education.
You've got that right. Things are constantly evolving.
Which begs the question, is this a career with staying power? What's the job outlook like? Give it to us straight.
The outlook is overwhelmingly positive. More people are seeking higher education, which means more demand for qualified leaders.
So not only is this a chance to shape young minds, but it's also a secure career path. Sounds like a pretty sweet deal, but let's be real, it's not all sunshine and roses, right? There got to be some downsides.
Oh, absolutely. With great responsibility comes, well, you know the rest. We're talking long hours, tough decisions, managing all those different personalities.
Okay, so maybe not the work in your pajamas kind of gig, but for someone who's truly passionate about education, those challenges can also be pretty rewarding, don't you think?
100%. And RoleCatcher highlights those perks too, like seeing the impact you have on students' lives, shaping educational policy.
It's like conducting a symphony, bringing all these elements together to create something amazing. But let's not forget, getting to that conductor's podium is a journey.
It is, and RoleCatcher does a great job outlining that career trajectory.
They lay out the steps, the typical path to becoming a further education principal, and it usually all starts with
Being a trainee teacher.
back to basics, right? It's like starting from scratch, right? Learning the ropes, getting your hands dirty.
Exactly. You're assisting experienced teachers, helping students, really getting a feel for the classroom.
Soaking it all in. And then you level up, you become a junior teacher. What changes at that point?
Well, now you're in the hot seat, designing lessons, managing the classroom.
Oh yeah, the joys of classroom management. I bet that's a learning curve. But RoleCatcher says becoming a senior teacher isn't just about putting in the time.
Right. It's about showing growth, understanding the why behind the what of education.
Okay, so more than just showing up and teaching the lessons.
Way more. You're leading curriculum development, mentoring new teachers, even working on school-wide projects.
Wow, so your influence starts expanding beyond just your own classroom.
It does. And RoleCatcher points out that data analysis becomes really important at this stage.
Oh yeah, data's huge these days. What do they mean by that, though, like analyzing student test scores and stuff?
Exactly. Using that data to adjust teaching methods, improve how students are learning.
So it's all about constantly improving, adapting to what the data tells you. Fascinating. And then from senior teacher, the path leads to, drum roll please, assistant principal. That's a pretty big jump, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
It's where those leadership skills really get put to the test.
Because now you're not just dealing with students, you're dealing with teachers, parents.
Oh, yeah, all the stakeholders.
Mhm.
You're assisting with day-to-day operations, supervising teachers, and brace yourself handling student discipline.
Oh boy, the dreaded parent-teacher confrontations.
Those can be interesting. But it's a great learning experience. You're gaining experience with budgets, school improvement plans, connecting with the community.
It's like a crash course in educational leadership, preparing you for the big leagues. And speaking of the big leagues, We finally reached the summit, the peak, the ultimate, the further education principle. So what sets this role apart, besides the corner office?
Well, it's less about the day-to-day and more about the big picture. You're setting the vision, creating a culture of excellence, making those high-stakes decisions that will shape the school for years to come.
No pressure there. RoleCatcher actually mentions a case study where a principal had to deal with major budget cuts while still maintaining a good quality of education.
Tough situation. It's a balancing act, for sure. You're advocating for resources, managing finances, all while making sure the students are getting the best possible education.
Finding that sweet spot between a good budget and a good learning environment. Not easy. And speaking of challenges, let's talk about the interview process. I imagine landing a job like this is no walk in the park. But good news, everyone. RoleCatcher comes to the rescue again with their interview guides. What kind of insider knowledge are we talking about here?
They break down common interview questions, give you sample answers, even offer tips on what those hiring committees are looking for. It's like having a secret weapon.
So spill the beans. What are some of those tough questions they ask? I'm dying to know. Give us the inside scoop. What kind of questions make those hiring committees tick?
Well, it's not just about knowing the textbooks. It's about leadership. One question that always comes up is, how do you motivate and inspire a diverse staff?
Right, because you're dealing with so many different personalities, teaching styles, experience levels.
Exactly. It's about creating an environment where everyone feels valued, where they can all thrive.
It's almost like you're a coach, but instead of a sports team, you're leading a team of educators.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And speaking of diversity, I bet they also want to know about your commitment to creating an inclusive school environment.
Absolutely. How do you ensure the school is welcoming and supportive for all else students? That's a big one.
Making sure every student feels seen and heard no matter their background or their learning style. It's about creating equal opportunities for everyone. But we all know, even with the best intentions, conflicts are bound to arise. Oh, for sure. And RoleCatcher doesn't sugarcoat that. They actually have a whole section on conflict resolution.
Like, what do you do when a teacher and a parent disagree about a student's grade? I bet that's a tricky one.
It is. And they often ask that in interviews. How would you handle a disagreement between a teacher and a parent?
Because you're the one stuck in the middle.
Exactly. And they want to see that you can handle those situations with grace, with empathy, that you can find a solution that works for everyone, especially the student.
It's about being a mediator, a diplomat. So RoleCatcher probably gives some tips on how to navigate those tricky conversations, right?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Active listening, conflict resolution techniques, staying professional under pressure, it's all in there. And remember, as a principal, you're setting the tone for the entire school.
You're the role model. So yeah, no pressure. We've covered a lot of ground here, from those first steps as a trainee teacher all the way to becoming the head honcho. And I think the biggest takeaway, and RoleCatcher emphasizes this, is that being a further education principal is more than just a job. It's a calling.
It's about passion, dedication, a genuine desire to shape young minds.
And that's something you can't learn from a textbook. That comes from within.
Well said.
This has been an incredible journey into the world of further education principles, folks. And who knows, maybe one of you listening right now will be the next great educational leader. If that's you, we're rooting for you.
Go make a difference.
Until next time, keep those learning fires burning, everybody.